Shadow Skunk gonna be tanking the Moonblast. Unfortunately, no Sludge Bomb. We can only hit Tapu Fini for resisted Crunch. Won't be enough to knock out. However, we can hit him with that Wham Bam combo play. Hitmontop is about to be a Tapu Fini counter confirmed. Welcome back to the home of Shadow Pokemon. We're back at it again with yet more exclusive Triple Shadow content. Today, we are making the huge investment, powering up this Shadow Hitmontop all the way to level 50. The IVs are 14, 15, 14, and it maxes out at 2,417 CP. As this is the Open Ultra League, top meta threats include stuff like Giratina, Trevenant, and of course Cresselia, all things that Hitmontop wants no part of. So we're going to be pairing up Hitmontop with my classic double Dark Poison backline, utilising the channel mascot Shadow Drapion on the Say Switch, with Shadow Skuntank operating in the closer position. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. Apparently I forgot to mention something else that Hitmontop wants absolutely no part of is any type of fairy. So Grumble, especially Shadow, not fantastic. The opponent built up some energy, attempted to catch the Sludge Bomb onto Skuntank. We are not sitting in the best spot. Drapion going to do what Drapion does best and spam out Crunch after Crunch. If the opponent goes for a Crunch of their own, Drapion will survive. However, we don't get off the Crunch, which is pretty brutal. However, this is going to allow Hitmontop to come in, get the full counter farm down. The opponent is going to make the Sludge Bomb or the Flamethrower, and Hitmontop is going to take a lot of neutral damage. Hitmontop gets the full counter farm down, banks a close combat, and here comes Shadow Skunk. The opponent stays in. We commit to the full Poison Jab farm down, and what the heck is this on my screen? The opponent has a Confusion Shadow Slowbro. The Confusions are single resisted, but my god, you wouldn't know it. Skuntank getting torn apart. We fire off the first Crunch, drawing the Protect Shield. We don't see the defense drop. We fire off the second Crunch. It's now all shields down. We see no defense drop. Is this Stone Edge going to be enough to knock out? Stone Edge lands, the opponent's on 1 HP and a Dream. We survive the Confusion, and Hitmontop manages to close out game 1. Heading into the next battle, another terrible lead, I say switch into Drapion. The opponent sends out Virizion. Does the opponent know there's no baits on this channel? I full send the Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb lands for huge super effective damage. This is going to allow me to flip switch. The opponent fires off the first Sacred Sword. I'm going to shield the second leave with a whole boatload of energy. If this is their best Drapion response, Drapion could be going on an absolute tear up. We commit to the full Poison Sting farm down, and the opponent says fuck that and concede the match. Moving on to the next one, finally we see a good lead. The opponent Say switches into a Shadow Claw Giratina, and my god have we got some response. Poison Sting Crunch Spam is absolutely real. We allow the opponent to throw the Dragon Claw. We're then going to start playing the very annoying CMP game. It takes Giratina 5, then 4 to reach each Dragon Claw. So I'm just going to keep farming up, firing on the CMP tile. I'm going to put shield and emphasis on the opponent. We're going to play the fun game of you shield, I'll shield. I'm absolutely going to be maintaining alignment. The next Crunch goes unshielded. The Bear Trap will return, probably commit to the very aggressive Mudshot farm down, but Drapion still not done, fires off the first Crunch. Still we don't see a defense drop. RNG's being an absolute bitch. Apparently my 30% chance is more like a 0.3% chance. We throw one more Crunch, still no defense drop. The opponent leaves with a boatload of energy. However, they don't really hit all that hard. We was going to tank the Earthquake. The opponent goes for a very stupid bait. They've got Tapu Fini in the back, and it's RPS for the win. In the next battle, we see the battle of the counter users. Hitmontop's cheapest charge move is Close Combat. Haxorus going to far outpace us. We're going to tank the Breaking Swipe, bank the energy, pivot out into Drapion. I could throw on the CMP tie, however, we would lose CMP. I'm just going to allow the opponent to debuff me and see what they want to do. They switch out into Steelix, and this is a huge yike spot to be in. Steelix has bulk for days, and with debuff, Crunch doesn't do a lot, and of course we don't see a defense drop. However, Drapion, super spammy, taking only 5 Poison Stings. To each Crunch, we land the second Crunch, still no defense drop. We throw yet another Crunch, Steelix still sitting pretty healthy. We fire off another Crunch, and again we see no defense drop. Holy smokes. I know Jonkus complains about getting no debuffs, but beat that. That's about 7 Crunches. For a 0 out of 7 percentage, you love to see it. I come into Hitmontop. I'm going to have to shield twice, commit to the counter farm down. Hope Skuntank's good against whatever's in the back. Hitmontop gets the full counter farm down. I spam out into Skuntank. The opponent then pivots out into Haxorus. Skuntank gets the farm down. Back out comes Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini might have 2 Protect Shields to hide behind, but Skuntank, smelling blood, we fire off the crunch, still no defense drop. This is only a surf and surf, not going to knock out Skuntank. We'll make one more crunch, does the opponent commit that final shield? If they do, we're about to see that wham bam combo play, serving up that Big Mac and the fries. We've got the Stone Edge locked and loaded. It's going to be high Tapu Fini, bye Tapu Fini, get fucking wrecked. In the next battle, we see Hitmontop into Escavalier, definitely where the team wants to see it, as the Dark Poisons don't really like this thing, as it's got access to Drill Run, which would be super effective. I shield up the Drill Run. I'm then going to throw 5 counters, one before the opponent reaches the next Drill Run, and throw the Stone Edge. If the opponent invests this shield, I will have to double shield and commit to the full counter farm down, but we will leave with a move, and Hitmontop only has nukes. The opponent fires off the Drill Run. Hitmontop gets the full counter farm down. I'm now going to spam out into Drapion. The opponent sends out Tapu Fini, then pivot out into Obstagoon. Drapion with access to Sludge Bomb, going to hit for heavy neutral damage. The first one lands. The opponent still with 1 Protect Shield, return fire with the Night Slash. We've seen no debuffs, but of course the opponent gets the boost. However, no boost. We'll be saving this opponent. Do they want to invest their last shield on the Sludge Bomb? They do not. Back out comes Tapu Fini. I'm going to commit to the Sludge Bomb. Drapion, despite being a hundo at 15, thick enough to make the Sludge Bomb, forcing the final shield. The opponent might have thought, with Drapion out the way, their Tapu Fini's safe. Well, surprise. Hi, trainer. Meet Skuntank. Skuntank tanks the Moonblast. The opponent attempts to water gun, farm us down. Skuntank says no. Fires off the crunch. Crunch won't be lethal. Again, no debuff. However, Hitmontop has Skuntank's back. The close combat is going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. And we clutch up a very nice 5-0. Of course, Hitmontop is the featured Pokemon today, but my god are the Dark Poisons good in Ultra League. In the next battle, we see Cantomark, a Pokemon I really like. It takes him 6 poison jabs to reach the Thunder Punch, so stay in school, kids. Learn to count, we catch it on Drapion, and give Hitmontop a little running start because it takes us about 8 years to reach a charge move. The opponent now say switches into Gliscopod, and that isn't really any great response. We finally get a debuff. The opponent can throw whatever they like, even Liquidation. Not going to knock out. We're going to make one more crunch now. Shield and Emphasis is going to be on the opponent. Ideally, we want to get shields down as Hitmontop has really expensive charge moves with some nukes, and I really want to fucking boom something. Not only does Hitmontop hit like a truck, Shadow Skuntank hits super hard as well. We're going to come into Skunk. No shield, the potential Liquidation, commit to the full poison jab farm down, and then we've got nukes galore. What does the opponent want to send out? The opponent having a little think, and they send out Charizard. Charizard not going to appreciate the crunch. The opponent goes straight for a Dragon Claw, and I am going to invest my first Protect Shield here. Charizard only 4 wing attacks away from the next Dragon Claw, so I farm up throw just before the opponent reaches it. Crunch draws the final Protect Shield. The opponent looks for the farm down. They don't get it. Skuntank says no. Crunch deletes Charizard. We pivot back out into Hitmontop. I was unsure if 1 Stone Edge would be enough. 2 knockouts. I'm going to go for the safer play. Shield the Thunder Punch. Farm up to the back-to-back close combats. Despite this being resisted, I don't think hardly anything. The only single resist fighting will be surviving 2 close combats, and Hitmontop going to clutch up that game, and the win streak stays alive. And I'm given an instant reality check. What a dreadful lead. Of course, I'm going to instantly pivot into Drapion. The opponent is staying in, so I'm going to fire off a crunch, looking to do some decent neutral damage or force an early shield. The opponent tanks it on the chin. They farm up to a Brave Bird. However, really, does anyone Brave Bird a Shadow Pokemon? I thought not. The opponent now say switches into probably the hardest check for Drapion in the entire game. So if you're the opponent, just bank the energy and pivot out, as I can only hit this stupid annoying Steel Goat for resisted. And the Pidgeot has now dumped this energy, which is pretty good for me, to be honest. I was unsure if I survived the next double kick, so I do fire off the crunch. And apparently throwing an alignment was the play, as I didn't survive. We now come into Hitmontop. We are going to have to tank 2 Sacred Swords. Hitmontop's bulk going to be put to the test. It looks like we'll easily tank the next Sacred Sword, and luckily we did get the defense drop in the mid game, so we're going to counter down before the opponent double kicks down. I pivot out into Skuntank. The opponent stays in. Again, trainer, I dare you to throw the Brave Bird. The opponent again feather dances. They then pivot out into Virizion, and we might have a glimmer of hope. I'm not going to bait. I'm going to go straight for the Flamethrower. The opponent correctly shields it up. we're going to have to try and play out this game and look to snipe with Hitmontop. We're going to start shielding up absolutely everything. I shield up the Sacred Sword. I am going to have to shield up once again. Switch timers are misaligned, so I should get the chance to snipe the opponent. This time, I'm going to go for the crunch bait because Pidgeot's super low and the opponent has to shield something. They do shield up. Switch timer does pop up. I attempt to go for a CMP sack like an absolute potato because it looks really fancy. We fail that miserably. However, the opponent sends out Pidgeot. We poison jab, farm that down. We leave with the flamethrower and we manage to take that game. So the much safer play, as with the switch timers and misaligned, would have been just to come in, snipe the Virizion, and then we could have easily clutched out the game. However, we like to make things complicated for no reason over here. In the next battle, yet another dreadful lead. We say switch into Drapion and the opponent answers with Dubwall. Drapion has a pretty neutral matchup here. The opponent does actually outspam us, which is pretty surprising. There's not too many things outspam Drapion. We reach the Sludge Bomb on the CMP tie. Sludge Bomb does more damage and the opponent didn't shield. This is going to allow me to take back switch and we are definitely going to take that opportunity. Drapion going to get a very nice Poison Sting farm down. If Tentacruel does return, we're going to get off multiple crunches. If they attempt to Poison Jab farm me down, the first crunch lands. Now RNG in my favour, we see a defense drop, forcing the opponent to throw instantly. Drapion going to go down to the Scald, however we can now realign. I come into Skuntank, the opponent is staying in, so I do wonder what they've got in the back. They must be weak to dark. However, one Scald not going to be threatening, so we're not going to shield it. In case the opponent goes for the Acid Spray, the opponent continuing to stay in. I fire off the crunch just before the opponent can potentially debuff me with an Acid Spray crunch, goes unshielding, the opponent sends out Virizion. As the opponent has 2 shields, it's time for a masturbating session. We go for the crunch, the opponent does shield it up. We see the defense drop counter now tearing apart this Virizion. The opponent going to be spamming out Sacred Swords, the first one lands. We can survive one more. Ideally, you want to throw 4 counters. However, looking at my health, I don't think I survive. The next double kick, so I am going to throw on alignment. Close combat will be forcing the final protect shield. The opponent not at back-to-back charge moves. The opponent throws a move. They're 1 away. We're 1 away. Skuntank going to commit a shield. We're now going to throw one more poison jab, reach the crunch, and crunch is going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we lead Shadow Hitmontop into a Bomber Snow. Great lead. To be honest, all 3 of our Pokemon beat a Bomber Snow, and then in a strange turn of events, the opponent safe switches into Swampert, which beats all 3 of my Pokemon. Yikes. Luckily for me, this isn't a Shadow Swampert, so we do survive a Hydro Cannon reasonably well. Although we're going to get pretty close to the red if we go for a close combat. I fire off the Stone Edge, the opponent calls it. However, this is great for me as I can shield once, counter farm all the way down. We're going to leave almost at a move and I'm going to spam out instantly into Drapion. The opponent's final Pokemon is Charizard, again non-Shadow. However, to be honest, Blast Burn still pretty much going to one-shot and we fire off the crunch. We get the defense drop. In set number 1, all my moaning. So the RNG gods must have paid off because set number 2, we're getting all the defense drops. The opponent full sends the Blast Burn. They get the Wing Attack farm down. This is still really scary. We send in Skunk. The opponent goes straight for a Dragon Claw, thinking they're not going to reach the Blast Burn. An easy tank for Skunk. The opponent then pivot out into a Bomber Snow. Poison Jab tearing through the opponent. I am going to shield this up. The opponent still has 2 Protect Shields, 2 Hide Beyond. I don't think I can commit to the full Poison Jab farm down. So I'm going to fire off a crunch, hoping I get super lucky. The RNG gods hear me. They give me the defense drop. And I think I'm going to win the luckiest game of my life. We make the catch. We come in. We need 5 Poison Jabs to knock out. The 5th Poison Jab does get the knockout. Back out comes Charizard. And somehow the win streak goes to 9. Moving on to the next battle. We see the Battle of Fighters. Pretty neutral lead, however we do need to pivot out at some stage to potentially bait out something like a Galarian Stunfisk if they have it. The opponent fires off the Leaf Blade, we then throw 1 counter and the close combat. Close combat draws a Protect Shield and then going to look to make a catch on the potential Leaf Blade. The opponent holds their energy, builds to 5. Are they running Leaf Blade Stone Edge? The opponent is running Stone Edge. Then pivot out into Cobalion and holy smokes, this is not what we want to see. As we're already at half health, the opponent could potentially double kick farm me all the way down. I'm going to continue to throw at good timing. You want to throw at 1, 4 or 7. The opponent looks like they are committing to the full double kick farm down. Come on Drapion, please get the defense drop. We fire off the 3rd crunch. Finally we see the defense drop. However, 1 counter definitely not going to be enough to knock out. However, looking at the opponent's team, they've got a Sword of Justice in the front and one in the back, so they're really weak to top meta threats like Cresselia and Giratina. Perhaps they've got a Ghost or a Dark type in the back. If that's the case, Skuntank could close. We shield one Sacred Sword. We're going to have to tank one Sacred Sword. We need our team read to be right. Let's see what the opponent's got in the back. The opponent doesn't want to get Poison Jab. Farm down, they pivot out into Aurorus, and that definitely wasn't what I was expecting. The opponent thinking Cresselia is a myth, as it does beat all three of their Pokemon. I don't know why I shield then. I think I'm just sad that my win streak is going to end at 9. We have the next crunch. I'm not going to bother throwing. The opponent has the Weather Ball, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's to that opponent. We're now going to head into some fun bonus battles with yet more dreadful leads. Hitmontop into Dragonite. It'd be great if the opponent had no shields and a huge energy lead, as I could Stone Edge him. But as we have no energy, we pivot out into Drapion, and holy smokes, the Dragon Claw near one-shots. Again, the opponent Sage Switch into Double. I'm going to attempt to CMP tie the opponent. They're not that stupid. I think the opponent's going to commit to the full double kick farm down, but it was worth a try. The opponent does get the full double kick farm down. Double is going to make 2 moves. However, this thing that looks like a goat isn't really the goat. We all know Swampert's the greatest of all time. Doesn't hit all that hard, so we're going to tank both body slams, no problem whatsoever. And then, as always, it's time to pivot into Skunk and hope Skunk can close strong. The opponent gives up switch, sending out Dragonite. Skuntank getting torn apart by these Dragon Breaths. However, we are going to be able to commit to the full Poison Jab farm down, and we're going to leave before the opponent reaches another move. What is that final Pokemon? The opponent sends out Dubwall with just Poison Jab, farm it down. They're going to be forced to show their third. Oh, hello, Jellicent. Nice to see you, trainer. We throw one Poison Jab and the crunch, one more Poison Jab and the next crunch. The opponent still has one Protect Shield. They don't shield the next one. The opponent farming up an absolute boatload of energy. They attempt to sack. The sack is unsuccessful. We then throw one more Poison Jab and the next crunch. This will force the final shield. Jellicent now at the back-to-back surf, so stay in school, kids. Learn to count. We sack Hitmontop. The opponent goes for the undercharge. Hitmontop makes the double resisted. Close combat. Is close combat enough to knock out? No, it's not. The opponent gets the Hex down. We sneak the Poison Jab. We can shield this surf up, even though the opponent's at the back-to-back. We win with 1 HP and a dream. As I said previously, much like one of my previous opponents, thinking Cresselia is a myth, I pretended that Swampert was a myth because it beats all 3 of my Pokemon. The opponent farms up to a potential Earthquake. I do respect it, and of course I get baited. I'm going to return the favour with a bait of my own. We throw the Stone Edge. The opponent does shield. However, I'll be honest, I really wish the opponent would let it go, as this Swampert's going to be a headache. We tank the Hydro Cannon. We're left deep in the red. I'm going to fire off the close combat, hoping the opponent just lets it go. And of course they shield. Can we counter farm down? No, the opponent gets the Mud Shot farm down. They've got enough for an Earthquake. I'm going to come into Skuntank. As Poison Jabs do more than Poison Stings, we get the Poison Jab farm down. What does the opponent have? We've got 2 Dark Poisons. However, the opponent sends out Umbreon, so they must be weak to Dark in the back. The opponent going to be spamming out Last Resort, and we're going to spam out Flamethrowers. However, if the opponent is weak to Dark in the back, Skuntank has a pretty high attack, so I'm going to look to bank a crunch at some stage and pivot out into Drapion. I bank the crunch, look to catch the next Last Resort onto Drapion. If the opponent stays in, they're definitely weak to Dark. Or to be honest, it could be a Fairy. They could be weak to Poison, but either way, we can tank one more Last Resort. I'm going to overfarm heavily, fire off the Sludge Bomb to knock the opponent out. Sludge Bomb will be lethal despite Umbreon being super thick. What is that final Pokemon? The opponent's final Pokemon is Defense Deoxys, and this is going to be game over. One crunch from Drapion will do over 50% of their HP. Drapion doesn't make the next crunch. However, Skuntank banked the move. We win CMP, and that's going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. It didn't actually do 50% of HP, probably about 45. But we did get the defense drop, and Skuntank does hit a little bit harder than Drapion, so either way, with no defense drop, we would have been fine. In the next battle, we see another Pokemon that could probably beat all 3 of our Pokemon. This is actually a tanking legend. We're going to call the opponent, goes for the bait, and they do. The opponent then looks to catch a crunch onto Cloyster. Really cool pick from the opponent. Cloyster's something I want to run in Ultra League. Post down below if you want to see the Shadow variant. However, we get yet another defense shot. We reach the next crunch. The opponent going to be forced to shield. So from a pretty terrible spot, we're sitting pretty good. The opponent's counting on point, like you'd expect from someone who's already reached legend. I'm personally slumming in the 2500s running this sort of nonsense. Cloyster going to make a last second move. Liquidation, even from a non-shadow hit, it's pretty hard. We're going to spam out into Skuntank. The opponent is going to outpace me to a potential Earth Power. I'm probably going to get baited again, but at this stage, with 2 shields, I'm going to need to respect it. This is probably the easiest bait of their life. The opponent does master bait me. Boom, Mr. Opponent. Then pivot out into Greedent, and this is very playable. Despite having a lowered defense, we can easily tank a body slam. We've got so much residual energy. I fire 1 poison jab and the crunch. Skuntank, going to make Greedent look not that tick. We get yet another defense drop. We're going to go for 1 more poison jab and the next crunch for optimal fast move time, and the opponent putting all their hopes and dreams on the back of Nidoqueen with that sneak. We're at the crunch. I'm going to invest my final Protect Shield here. We're going to fire off the crunch, then instantly pivot into Hitmontop, and Hitmontop's bulk once again going to be put to the test. The opponent going to outpace us by a single quick move. Poison Fang, not going to be lethal, and Hitmontop is a Nidoqueen counter confirmed. The close combat lock and loaded. Hi Nidoqueen, bye Nidoqueen. GG's, and thanks for playing. So those were the battles with Shadow Hitmontop in the Open Ultra League. It's a pretty fun Pokemon to use, however it was really difficult as his charge moves were just too expensive. I've also got Shadow Hitmonchan that I have posted previously, so you can look back through my previous videos to check that one out. I think Hitmonchan is just better than Hitmontop. So it's got a wide variety of charge moves you can use to try and bridge any coverage gaps if you want to use a spicy fighter. However, if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. A link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.